Today's episode is really special. We are interviewing Collin from Pet Sitter Confessional, and you've probably heard of them if you've been in the pet industry podcast community. They have been around for so long, Collin and Megan, and their podcast is absolutely fabulous. And they typically are interviewing everybody else. And today I decided I want to interview Pet Sitter Confessional. So in today's episode, we are talking about really fun stuff. We're talking about pet industry trends. We're talking about technology and AI in the pet care industry. We're talking about challenges. We're talking about forecasting for what the pet industry is going to look like in 5 to 10 years from now. All sorts of good stuff. I highly recommend listening to this episode. If you are not a pet care provider and you offer other pet services, I still recommend listening to this episode. I think it'll be really valuable for you. But let's get to it because it's a really good one. Welcome, Petpreneur, to the Pet Marketing Unleashed podcast. I'm your host, Michaela Vargas, founder, designer, and educator behind Pet Marketing Unleashed. This podcast is all about growing your pet business without the stress. Here, you'll find episodes packed with actionable tips and advice for streamlining your online presence, avoiding burnout, and onboarding new clients while you're away from your desk or out with the dogs. So pop in those earbuds and learn stress-free marketing and website strategies with me while you head out on your next dog walk, pet sitting visit, drive to your next session, or just wherever your pet business takes you next. Let's dive in. All right, Collin, we are flipping the role on this episode as you guys are typically the hosts. So I'm truly honored to be able to sit down and actually ask you questions this time. Thank you for being here.
I'm really excited to be here, Michaela, and talk with you and see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, well, I'd love to, because I've never actually heard the story. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey, one into professional pet care, but how that kind of inspired you and Megan to start your podcast. I'd just like to hear the progression of how all that came to be.
Yeah. So this year, as we're recording this, Megan and I are coming up into our 13th year of doing pet care. We were actually graduate students out at Texas Tech University, and grad school doesn't pay you a whole lot of money. And we were needing something that was really flexible that we could do on our own time around our own schedule. And we started to do pet sitting. And it was actually Megan's idea. And so my idea was to create an aquarium cleaning business. I don't wear clothing that says aquarium cleaning business, so you can figure out which one was more successful. But and we did everything in the beginning. You know, we were doing overnights in people's houses. We were doing the drop-in visits. We were doing walks. We were doing everything that people asked us to do. And I think one time somebody had 11 dogs, and we were charging $20 a day for as many visits as people wanted us to do. And we thought we were doing fantastic, right? And that was great, right? And learned some lessons from that. But just continued to pet sit. Went off to get another degree. Moved actually back home to be closer to family, and took a non-pet sitting related job as a biologist with the Department of Conservation. And but never stopped pet sitting. And eventually, through COVID, I was sent home, and Megan was like, "Well, it's nice having you home here. Could we do something, together?" And that's when we started the pet sitting business full time. And that's been coming up on 5 years of running and operating our business. And now we don't do overnights. We'll do almost overnights. We'll do the dog walks, the drop-ins, the cat sitting visits, and have been growing a team for the last couple of years as well. And so that's that journey was really I need to do this to make extra money, to now it's the only way we make money. And that's been a lot of work on our mind in how we approach pricing and entrepreneurship and business owners, because we went to school to be scientists, right? Megan and I met sorting river detritus under a microscope to let you know exactly how nerdy we are. And now we're doing all of this. And then about the same time where we started to hire employees, Megan and I were kind of wanting to do something together, more than our business, just to do something fun and completely different. And we never really considered ourselves to be creative individuals, people who just spontaneously do something and create content or things like that. But I listen to podcasts almost religiously. I subscribe to way too many. I'm not going to admit it on this podcast. So you're not getting that out of me, Michaela. But
maybe after
that'll be the after hours one. But we we sat down and thought, what could we share? And Pet Sitter Confessional started as a way to share some of our own experiences. And it quickly grew and expanded to sharing other people's experiences because Megan and I were coming up from, we weren't in any Facebook groups. We weren't connected to any local communities or networks or anything. And quickly found that there was a need for this, but also just the immense experience and amazing community of other pet sitters, other dog walkers, other business owners out there who are so eager to share their own experiences, their stories, their struggles. And so we really focused in on that as a way of hearing from other people, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you also mentioned kind of like that transition from like you guys did everything to kind of narrowing down your services. And then, I've been hearing, we're going to be talking about pet industry trends, but I've been hearing this trend of going from like the full overnight pet sitting to almost overnight. So it's like there's so many trends, and you talk to so many people in terms of being a business owner yourself, but also a podcast host. So I'd love to know from you, because you hear from everybody, what are some of the most significant trends that you are seeing specifically in the pet care industry right now?
Yeah, this one is tough. This one is really tough, but you hit a big one there of a generalized overhaul of expectations for level of care. Really, overnight care was the standard when somebody said, "I need to hire a pet sitter." What they really wanted was somebody to come over and sleep in their house. And as the industry has grown and matured and it's become more accepted, I think a lot of pet owners have really started to see the value of multiple visits throughout the day. And so that's been a shift that the industry itself has been pushing too, as education, as from individuals saying, I don't offer that service and this is why. And here's why this other service is really good. So I feel like the industry has been really good about advocating for ourselves. And that's just because overnights are a lot of work. Some people really thrive with the day in, day out, sleeping in somebody else's home. I mean, when Megan and I were doing it, we had an apartment ostensibly, that's the word, but we lived apart in different parts of the city and would kind of run back home to get groceries or, to do a load of laundry and then go back apart from not seeing each other for like a month or two at a time. It gets really tiring. And so as people have experienced that, as they've seen the way of charging on visits, that's really changed the mindset around those overnights. And so it's really helped with this shift towards a personalized care. Pet Pets are family. We all know that. The stat 70% of pet owners would give up or forego medical intervention in their life if it meant they could pay for the medical intervention in the life of their pet. But now, even more so, we're seeing the humanization of pets to a degree we have never seen before. People want services for their pet. A great example of this is, the company Farmer's Dog. They send out the fresh food every month in those packets. What's the one thing that they do? On the packet, there's a little label, and the label says, Baxter's food. It's got the name of their pet on it, and pet owners love this. So that personalized care is really something that is now going to a level that we haven't seen before. And on top of that, you're also seeing a lot of technology that clients are expecting. They're expecting to interface with a website with some sort of rudimentary booking system, with some sort of form to fill out. These are just some kind of table stakes that clients are really expecting. I know a lot of people, a lot of business owners who are pen and paper through and through. And that's fantastic. If you have a system that works for you, that's connected with your clientele and they love it, nobody's saying to actively change. But if you are struggling to get clients or find that the way you're managing it is hard and you're struggling to do that, picking up some sort of software, even if it's just a form on your website, is a great way to just start capturing people's information right when they need you. Because I know in Megan's and my business, we get a lot of people who, yeah, they need you when they need you. They're not really planning 6 months down the road. They're not really planning next week. They go, "Oh, I need you right now." And we have to decide, do I meet that person's needs? If I do, I need to be able to get them into my system quickly as possible. And when we talk about connecting with our ideal clients, because they need you when they need you. Your clients will know the moment they need you. That's about niching your services. That is about this change from I'm the everything, do all business, like Megan and I were, to what we see so many businesses who are dog walking only. Or honestly, the biggest growth in the industry that we're seeing is really cat sitting only businesses. I know the last 2-3 years for our own, we've grown our cat clients by more than I ever thought, right? Looking back 10, 15 years and going, man, the standards of care have really changed. And even with cat clients who they used to throw some food down on the ground and we'd come in every 3 days. That's just what a lot of pet sitters did, every other day visits. Now we've got automated litter boxes, we've got automated feeders, we've got automated cameras, we've got automated toys, and they still want somebody there 1 or 2 times a day because they recognize the value in that. So it really is this personalized care that we can enhance through some of the client expectations with technology as we can take our services more and more specific to meet their needs.
Yeah, I feel like that was like, okay, we're good. We're done with the podcast. That was like such a good answer as far as trends. No, I feel like
All
that
right.
was no, I think that was great. Like, it's such a good overview of like what is trending and changing. I have so many thoughts. And one of the things too, I've also noticed about the cat sitting businesses as well. Like, we never used to do just cat sitting brands and websites. And then like the last probably maybe 3 years or so, I'm like, we've had so many cat specific businesses. And it is interesting that, and I don't know, do you think it's because there are so many pet care providers out there, they're just trying to differentiate themselves? Or is it that, are we responding to the need?
Yeah, I really see it as responding to a need, because the number of times that I hear somebody who was pretty much dog focused only, and slowly they've acquired more and more cat visits, and they didn't even really change their marketing. They didn't really change the images. They still post pictures of dogs walking almost exclusively, and yet cat people are going, "Can you take care of my pet?" People are looking for a level of care that they haven't before. And that really comes from that personalized care. As people see their pets more and more as not just, part of the family, but a true through and through family member who has specific needs, they want that. And it makes total sense, right? They want somebody with expertise. They want somebody with this level of understanding and so they'll ask you questions. And I love getting calls from cat clients because they ask way more questions than our dog clients. Like it's you know, cat people are different, and that's great, right? And because they know they want something, and they're really trying to find it. And we as business owners, you're right, Michaela, we have to decide: do I respond to that? Is that an area that I want to go in, or do I need to focus on my other niche and where else I want to go?
Yeah, because you also have to look into what they are specifically looking for. Where, I've had a lot of clients come to me and say, my brand is so heavily focused on dogs, but cat owners are really looking for people who are experts on cats, right? So it's kind of like, do you pivot and how do you, respond to these sort of situations?
Yeah, that is the eternal, struggle of a business owner of going, there's a need over there, right? Do I go there? Is that where I can go? And I think just some simple questions to ask yourself of, is it in alignment with my purpose, with my why, right? Is this, do I have a vision and goal for my business that this is in alignment with? Does this make sense? And then also, do I have skills that I'm already using that I could put towards this? Am I already kind of stepping in this direction in some way? And then could I easily get there with some classes or some coaching or some oversight? And if you find that the delta between any of those and where you want to go is too great, if that's too much of a cost, it's probably not something you want to really invest a lot of time in. But I think what a lot of us are finding is we have these wonderful transferable skills, it turns out, that immediately go into a new service, and that it's not too far off. I don't have to get super special software. I don't have to get super special training. I may need to get some more catnip and take some individual courses, but it's not too much of a big step for me to start offering some beginning services to those clients. And then you can grow and expand from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to these shifts for pet care providers and people choosing the right pet care provider for them, what are they looking at? Are they looking on, like, I know you mentioned the personal touch. Is there anything else? Like, is it certifications? Is it their brand personality? Is it online reviews? Like, what are they looking for?
Yeah, they really are. It's I kind of phrase it as two things, right? Do they want what you offer, and do they want how you offer it? Right. That many times, and this is kind of that brand fit and company culture and policy of they may want the cat visit, but if they don't like your cancellation policies, if they don't like the way you set up the onboarding process, if they that is reasons for people to not go with you. And we have to be okay with that. And I think that we have to then take a step back and understand, am I doing things that are attracting the clients that I want, or are they actively repelling them? And that's can be both good and bad, right? I want some of my processes to repel, I know that's a very blunt way of putting it, certain kind of clients who come into our business. That's okay. I'm trying to be better at attracting other people. But as clients look for more and more niche services, they really are looking for that that company vibe, right? That brand that speaks to them. And they really are also looking for, does this person know what they're talking about? Again, I'm going to use a cat sitting client as an example. They have a lot more questions than our typical dog sitting clients. They want to know and see, am I talking with a cat person? Right? Am I talking with somebody who gets this? Or is this somebody who's just showing up because it was on their website? And many times they're filtering that out when they are on the website, when they are looking on your social media, when they are talking to you on the phone, because yes, you should probably be talking to people on the phone just a little bit more than you're personally comfortable with, because people want to know and have that connection to somebody. And they want to know that there's a person there as opposed to just, and that's, what we struggle with a lot of recognizing, yes, I am a service, but people are looking for a connection to a person. And so elevating that aspect, that humanity that we bring as the business owners, whether we're a solo operator or whether we have a team, realizing that there are people here that we can grow a connection with. And fundamentally, that's what the client wants. The client wants a connection with a person because they're looking for help.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because that just sparked my memory of, we had a client, she was a cat sitter, and she was specifically like, but like, are you a cat owner? Like, do you get it? Because they
Yeah.
really are looking to be understood. And it's funny, like, we've experienced like the exact same thing. And I feel like being understood is such a big thing during this time. And, speaking of trends that we've been talking about when it comes to things like AI, sometimes you can lose that, personal connection if you're not utilizing it effectively in your business. So I'm curious your thoughts on AI. Like, do you think that those are helping pet care providers? Is it complicating like how is that affecting everything when it comes to trends, especially when you talk about your biggest thing that you talked about was having that personal touch and connection. So like, how does AI factor in all that when it comes to the trends?
Yeah, AI is such a wonderfully hot button topic. People either immediately love it or are immediately repulsed by it. And sure, AI has a lot of problems associated with it. And you just have to recognize and go, okay, there are problems with this technology, geopolitical, environmental, all these sort of stuff. But fundamentally, can I use it? Should I use it in my business? And how would I use it in my business? And there's a variety of AI tools. Apple has their AI that they run on their device, right? That can help you with writing and things like that. I think with AI, at least, it's really in how you implement it. As an example, our town that we live in, they were going through kind of I don't know, say a PR crisis, but they didn't communicate really well to the community. And then suddenly, this weird post shows up on their Facebook page. It is not in the tone of anything that has been previously written. It's using emojis and it's all spelled correctly. And I took that to Megan and man, I said, what do you think this is? And she went, oh, that's Chat GPT through and through. Right.
Oh my gosh.
And people caught on. They were like, oh, I didn't know they hired a PR firm for this. And this doesn't sound like the town. And obviously they don't care about our opinions and there's no people involved in this. And it was a wonderful example of a great technology inappropriately used. So what I like to do, what you can do with AI is you have to remember it doesn't replace that human, right? Clients are looking to be for the humanity behind the service. Now, can I use AI to enhance my message, help me brainstorm my message? Maybe, I don't know, spell check my message? I don't know. Like, I bring that up because I do struggle with that. And so I'm going, what kind of tone do we want? And maybe I have an idea of who a client avatar is. A client who I have one client on my roster who I just love, and I'd love 10 more of them. Well, if I can say, ChatGPT, here's some characteristics of somebody who I would like to serve more. What are some ideas for me to get there and serve those people better? What a wonderful brainstorming session to do that. The gray areas do come in when you're getting into content creation. And I think that's really where most people's brains go to these days of AI. Oh, you're talking about writing blog posts, or you're talking about messages and things like that. And that's dangerous, right? Because that's not all that it is. It's brainstorming, it's data organization, it's data analysis. I know we just went through a big survey with all of our clients. I took the CSV, threw it into ChatGPT, and asked questions about it. What are some insights from this? Help me understand how I can serve them better. What are some deficiencies that maybe I don't see that you see in this? Is it right 100% of the time? No, but it's a great place to start to improve and to get some more information back into you, right, into your business to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's like a level of critical thinking skills that needs to come when you use, something like ChatGPT because yeah, there are instances where maybe they're not giving you the correct information. So being able to kind of use it as a starting place, like you said, brainstorming and going back and forth and getting ideas for things and streamlining analysis of data, like that's where it can really become of
Wow.
use.
I'll give you another example here. Once we onboard a new employee, we always send them a 10 question questionnaire, right? And it's real, as we say, it's our getting to know you quiz. And it's like, hey, do you like beach or the mountains? Are you a coffee or tea person? What's your favorite movie? It's these kind of questions. And this year we were kind of struggling with like, okay, how do we implement and use this well? And we threw all of the questions and answers into ChatGPT, and we said, help come up with 5 gifts under $20 for each employee. And it spat out some really, weird ideas, but it at least got Megan and I thinking of like, oh, that's actually an interesting out of the box idea that we wouldn't have come up with because I just didn't want to buy them another tea set, right? Because they said they like tea. And that it can help you get those kind of ideas into your business whenever you're looking to, again, enhance the relationship with the people that are surrounding you.
Yeah. So kind of trying to use it almost as a human to brainstorm ideas. And then from there, you can keep that personal touch.
Exactly. It's because too many times as business owners, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I reach the end of the day and decision fatigue is so real. I don't want to have to critically think about literally anything. I don't. And so that doesn't bode well whenever I'm trying to buy a gift for somebody or when I'm trying to think of a new service or how to customize something for a new client. If I can have something that I can have a conversation back and forth with to help me that may be a little bit less biased or I don't know, angry and sleepy than I am, right? Like that's going to help me, and then I can say whether that's a good fit for me or not, because we fundamentally have that decision making power at the end of this. The robot isn't just going off and spending my money on Amazon, right? I still have to make that final decision.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot sometimes when I'm like, I can't even think about this anymore. Like, I need to at least get ideas going so that I can, have to start from zero, I think is the big thing.
Right. And same thing with the marketing of our business. Again, if I'm like, I don't know even how do I come up with 10 new ideas to market my business? I don't know. If I could think of 10 more, I probably would have already thought of 10 more at this point. So go describe your business into ChatGPT about, where you serve, how you're serving, clients that you're serving, services that you offer, put it all in there and then say, here's how I'm currently marketing. List your 10 things that you're currently doing. And then all you write is, I need 10 new ways to better connect with the clients that I need, and then press enter and see what comes back. Is it all going to be gold? Of course not. But at least you can start seeing some new information that maybe you haven't thought of before. And fundamentally, that's a boon to you as a business owner to help you run the business that you're trying to run, whether, and get those clients that you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the more detail that you provide AI technology, the better results as well. Like you can't just say, "Hey, I'm a pet sitter. I need 10 ideas." Like you need to explain who you're trying to reach out to and where you're located. Like give the details because I feel like that's so much more effective in terms of what you get back.
Yeah, exactly. And again, when most people think, and it's so important to talk about the utility of this because we're not what we haven't mentioned here is, oh yeah, I have an AI chatbot on my website, right? Like nobody really wants that unless it's done really, really, really well. I'm not having the AI answer my phones for me. They're not pricing quotes for people. They're not automatically posting to social media and responding to things in that way. It's helping me do things that I'm already doing and helping me brainstorm. I think if we can, if that's a shift that you can make of going, this is helping me brainstorm and think critically about stuff, that's really where you find a lot of the power.
Interrupting this episode real quick to share a free tool that can put extra money in your pocket, literally. You're out here working hard, growing your business, and taking care of clients. But is your money working just as hard? If you're keeping your savings in a standard savings account, you're earning basically nothing. I'm talking like 0.01% interest. Yikes. It's time to switch things up. That's why I want to tell you about Wealthfront's free high-yield cash savings account. It's completely free, and as of right now, you can earn 4% on your savings total, which is like so much better than just letting your money just sit there doing nothing. And if you use our link in the show notes, you'll get an extra 0.5% for 3 months. That means your money isn't just sitting there, it's growing effortlessly while you focus on running your business. With Wealthfront, there are no account fees. You get free 24/7 instant withdrawals. There's no minimum or maximum balance to earn the current 4% APY. You get up to 8 million FDIC insurance through partner banks, and it's super easy to set up and manage online or via the app. So if you're ready to make your savings grow way more than your average savings account, click the link in the show notes and start earning from your savings today. I love that idea. I think reframing it, like you said, is gold. I love it.
Yes.
There's a lot of pet sitters out there, a lot of pet care providers. Saturation and competition is a huge issue. I'd love your insights or opinions on this. Like, what's the situation? Like, when it comes to competition, what can businesses do to stand out in 2025?
Yeah, this is more of a conversation now than ever before. And I'm seeing we see a lot of long-term businesses who 5 years ago were saying, "Oh, hobby sitters aren't my competition," but now they are saying, "Hobby sitters are my competition. Hobby sitters are actively taking business from me." And that's one. It depends on your market, right? It depends on how saturated your market truly, truly is. I know that even in the past 5 years, we where we run our businesses because we have one business, but it serves in two different service areas that are about 2 hours apart. And one is very rural and one is very urban and actually helps us see some trends and different things going on. And even in those two things, it's a great comparison to say, yeah, there's a lot more people out there doing this as a thing. And on one hand, that's amazing, right? We want to see a healthy, growing industry. There are more pets than ever. I can't serve all of them, and that's totally fine. What businesses are struggling with is really differentiating themselves. How do I, as a business, say I'm different than that other person? And that's hard because some trends again, that going back to what clients are looking for, if a client's only preference is to have my problem solved immediately, they don't really care about a lot of other things about a business. And we just have to recognize that is a subset of the clients out there. They're only looking for somebody, a literal body to show up and take care of their pet. If we cut those out though, as a business, we can go, okay, what can I do? What's in my control? Well, I can focus on my experience, but I think more than that, it's relationships. Again, when we talk about the humanity in pet care and the human aspect, what relationships are you building in your community? It's more than just going into a groomer and hucking a wad of flyers at them and saying, "I'm a pet sitter, bye." Right? It's getting to know that person. It's having coffee with that person. It's taking time to get to know them. We locally, we have a fantastic pet supply store, and I love going in there and just talking with the owners every 3 to 6 months, right? And just saying, "How is it going? How's business? What are you seeing? How are things going? And it's things like that. They will reshare our posts. We'll reshare their post on social media and Facebook. Do you think that they are more likely to give out our business card as opposed to somebody that just comes in and again hucks a wad of cards to them and then leaves and they don't ever see them again? You do have to nurture those relationships, and that's hard. That's scary. That takes time. But when we look to being differentiated, word of mouth marketing is still one of the single best ways to grow your business. How do I get that? How do I get people talking about me? They have to know you. They have to understand what you do and love what you do almost as much as you do to share it to other people. And so there's the focusing on those relationships. There's the growing that, and then yeah, it is tough, right? Niching down. We've already mentioned that a little bit. You do have to be careful of how specific you get. If you're like, I only want to do golden retrievers with the first names that start with the letter B. Okay, maybe not that niche. Okay, back it up a couple levels, but just look at going, where do you have expertise? And it can be not just in who you're serving or what you offer, but in some of your other policies, right? We like to think of the same day bookings or same day cancellations. That's something our clients get when they use us with no penalty or fault. They love that aspect. It actually attracts a clientele that you may want, that you may not want. It's more than just, oh, I offer adventure hikes and nobody else does. Well, again, like I said, it's do they want what you offer and do they want how you offer it? How do you offer your adventure hikes? Is there anything special about those? Are they personalized to the dog? Do they get anything for being clients of yours? Those are all great ways to be differentiators than anybody else, is in not just what you offer, but how you offer it to being unique.
And your example of the golden retriever with the first name, whatever, say starts with C. The power of niching that I love so much is if that was obviously this is a very specific example that we wouldn't necessarily recommend, but can
Yeah.
you imagine if a golden retriever pet owner with the name that starts with C, they will 100% work with your business. Like that's the power of niching down because you're able to connect with people on a different level than just saying you're a pet care provider. Like that's the power of niching.
Yeah, it really is. And it's that connection because we have to remember that when somebody's at the search bar in Google or whether they're at the counter at the pet food store and they ask that question, do you have any recommendations for? Who are they asking the recommendation for? Themselves, right? So when they see you, when they hear about you, when they learn about you, do they see themselves there? Do they see you solving their problems? Are they connecting with you? And that starts from, yes, sure, your colors, your brand, the language that you're using, the services that you offer, and how your flow of bringing somebody into your company works. All of that is speaking to the person as to whether they are a good fit for you.
I 100% agree. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about trends. We've talked a little bit about the challenges. I'd love to know your insights in where you see the pet care industry headed in, 5, 10 years. What are your predictions?
Luckily for you, Michaela, I have my magic 8 ball here. I actually brought it with me. So hold on, let me no,
Perfect.
I don't have that at all. This is an unfair question. I'm kidding.
And you better be
um
right, so
yeah, hold me to it this day. We'll check. No, this is, I mean, the industry has grown, I think, and changed more in the last 5 years than it did in the last 25, right? I think that's COVID really changed a lot of expectations around pet parents and how they want to be served and how businesses were going to serve them. I think the biggest thing that we see a lot of people trying to move to, and I don't think it's been fully worked out yet, but from the business perspective, seeing a lot of people looking for more of a subscription-based offerings. Okay, so think of this of it's not just even a reoccurring basis. It's like a Costco membership, right? You use it or lose it. You get some perks whenever you book, and you get the hot dogs for $1.50. That if you're not a member, you don't get those, right? So it's offering perks to your members, to your clients, for a use it or lose it kind of service. A lot of businesses are really trying to figure out how to make this work financially. There's a lot of problems with this kind of model of, well, what if somebody wants me to come over 3 times a day, every day of the month, right? That's not what I want at all. That wasn't my intent. I want to be there for people who have certain package levels and things like that. So businesses are going to be moving and trying to move to more of this model as opposed to a lot of the one-off bookings, right? Where it's just you use me whenever you need me. It's actually asking for a little bit more of a commitment from the client. And this will probably do a lot really well in service areas that have a culture of dog walking. It may take a little while for this to, or even just pet sitting, dog walking, boarding, daycare services. This will probably take a little more time to build into the areas who maybe pet care hasn't quite caught up to there. But again, we see a lot of businesses trying to move into the subscription model. I think that from an industry level, you're going to see maybe again with a lot of things going on, there's always looming over us regulations and standards that are just out there, right? As we see more and more on the news channels and on things of quote unquote pet sitter does, or something happened to this quote unquote pet sitter, or this or that. That can only go on for so much before some people are going to start asking for change and oversight and standards to be set. And I think we really have to be ready to respond as an industry to when those calls start going up of what that actually means and what that actually look like. So here's the call that if you are not involved in a professional organization, either at the state or national level or wherever, if you're not involved in that, try to be involved as much as you can so that you can lend a voice to that when those come. Again, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a burden. If we can give advice and help in those processes, I really think it could be beneficial. But it is something that we need to be hyper aware of, that as these things happen, people are going to want to respond. And then the third thing here is that I think technology is going to keep we think is going to keep moving and pushing forward, not just from an AI perspective, but AI in running, or sorry, technology in running of the business and the technology of the pet care. If you are not well versed in how to disassemble and troubleshoot an automatic cat litter scoop, you should probably add that to your skill set and your repertoire. At least have the manual on file. And that's a pro tip. If you are over at a client and they have some sort of automated water fountain or automated feeding or a cat litter thing, just take a picture of it, go home, Google it, and then save the PDF, save the manual somewhere for that client, whether it's in your software or just on your desktop or on your phone, so that when something goes wrong, you already have that ahead of time and the client will love you all the more. But that kind of thing, being familiar with fitness trackers and automatic doors and all of that stuff in the actual care of the pets, that's only going to increase as more and more clients bring that technology into the home. And we can't always be saying, well, I won't take care of pets who have this kind of fountain or whatever, right? If a client wants that, we can help serve them all the more in giving recommendations for best ways to clean or use it appropriately, things like that.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like there's almost like a fine balance between people want things very fast, immediate. Like you talk about technology, you talk about all that stuff and how it can work together, but like also we want this personal touch. Like I feel like it's such a challenge, in the pet. I always say this in like pretty much every podcast or every blog post. I'm always like, oh, but like, especially in an industry as personal as the pet industry, like it's such a personal industry. Yet we have, technology and everyone wants the speedy service of something like Rover, right? Like, and you talk about subscription models. This is all some like things that take place outside the pet industry that is probably coming to the forefront of the pet industry, and ways we can kind of bridge that gap between responding to that and honoring that and being a part of that, but also still giving that personal touch. I feel like that can be such a challenge.
Yeah, that is the life of the professional at that point, right? How do I differentiate myself from everybody else? How can I, if you our goal, right? Help pet parents live their best life through every stage of life with their pet. How do I do that? I need to be knowledgeable enough and have the tools, connections, the resources, the other people in my community to help support that person. If people are really looking for a pet care solution, right? That's what we can bring. As a professional, you can bring that to them. Be the hub and have the spokes to connect every one of your clients to what they need when they need it. Then, talk about being indispensable. Talk about being invaluable to that person. And your ability to showcase that and talk about that and provide that to your clients is what is just a wonderful gift that you can give them on their journey with their pet.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, I'm curious, do you guys see yourself doing the subscription model?
It is something that we have thought a lot about, especially as in aspects of of the daily midday visits or the daily dog walks. That's where it can make a lot more sense. I think what you have to do then is, like a lot of gyms or other membership based things, you have tiers and levels of how much people can use you. Because the real detriment there is that you start losing, you have a lot of people on subscription, but you may be still be losing money on him. So I think providing extra perks along the way can help boost that. Of okay, maybe you're a member, but like one model that may work for a lot of people is, in order to use my services, in order to stay on my books, it's $30 a month or something like that, right? Like, whatever that is. Then when you pay that, each service that you book is 15 to 20% off. That kind of, again, those numbers are completely made up. It might not actually be what would be beneficial here, but there's a balance there of how do I get more of a commitment from my clients to offering something that they are actually going to use more? Because that's fundamentally what we want. We want to be integrated into people's lives where we become not just something that they throw away whenever things get inconvenient, but they can't live without. And one way to do that is to offer this kind of commitment level from them. So it is something that Megan and I have thought a lot about, not necessarily for the pet sitting side, because that gets a lot more complicated, but for those more dog walks, that kind of services. Yeah. Or even, poop scooping service, maybe something where that would work for us as well.
Yeah, because that's definitely something that they need regular upkeep on because the dog
Yes.
doesn't stop pooping.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's and personal. I told you just before we started recording that I just took my son to preschool for the first time, and they went. When I signed up, and it's just one day a week. But when I signed up, they ask for you to commit to the entire season, so
Mhm.
the spring semester basically. And they talk about why, and they talk about the relationships and the bonds and skills build on each other. Like there's so many benefits that go outside of just like trying to get the commitment or the deal for, oh, if I do the whole semester, it's cheaper. It's also my son's actually making friends and he's learning something over time. Like they give the example because it's actually at a farm. So they give the example of like, we plant the seeds in the beginning and then you see it grow week after week. Like there's a point to it. So it's like if you
Yeah.
can kind of bring that into your subscription model, maybe that would be helpful.
Right. Well, so there's a wonderful tie-in into the pet sitting side of things. Maybe the subscription model isn't directly the pet sitting, but what it is in order for me to do pet sitting for you, right? You have to use me 10 times a month for midday visits or something. Because we all know how you get one client who books you for Christmas, and then they may book you for 4th of July, and then they may book you for Thanksgiving the following year, because some families go from Thanksgiving to Christmas and they change every other year. Well, that person is using you every 6 to 7 months. What kind of relationship do you have with your pets? How many days does it take you for that dog or that cat to become comfortable with you in their home? Pitching this kind of benefit that they get of, hey, in order for me to be available for Thanksgiving, could we do 1 visit a month, 2 visits a month, maybe? To keep that relationship and nurture that relationship. Plus, as from our perspective, it helps make sure that all their notes are up to date whenever they haven't used you in a year. And you realize nothing is the same, right? So there's a lot of that would be a tie-in, and it's something that Megan and I have considered of it's not just how do I make more money out of my clients, right? I think you have to really understand that it really is how do I make sure that I'm giving the best pet care possible. Right. The only way that we know how to do that is to have a fantastic relationship with the pet and the owner. When you're missing that, it's really hard and you're always trudging uphill.
Yeah. And I think too, when we talk about like niching or specializing or things like that to differentiate yourself, like this may be more applicable to pet care providers who work with dogs with separation anxiety or whatever sort of scenario where like regular, consistent care is actually going to see more of a transformation than an as needed basis. So, taking into consideration your strategy and what you want to differentiate yourself as, like this sort of model could work better versus another business.
really can. Or maybe you have a dog or who's not used to new people coming in through the door, right? Okay, that's something that Megan and I encountered. Well, we counter a lot and how we run our business. That kind of stuff does come up quite a lot. And we had a client who went so far as to send their dog off to like doggy boot camp for several times in preparation for us to come over for just Thanksgiving alone. And we basically had to get a commitment out of him. It's like, okay, that dog gets back, we have to see that dog at least once a week for the 5 weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, so we don't lose any traction. And he did commit to that because that's how important Thanksgiving was. Now, unfortunately, after Thanksgiving, it wasn't important anymore, so that all went away. But finding a way to communicate that to clients of, if this is really important to you, if this trip means a lot, here's my professional recommendation to make sure that I'm setting your dog up for success while you're away.
Yeah. And even like veterinarian offices do that too. Like if you have an anxious pet, like they'll do like half like fake vet visits to, just give treats and make it a positive experience or association. So why not add that into the pet care industry? Especially, I don't know if you notice this in terms of trends, but I mean, the pet anxiety is out of this world. I mean, at least in my neighborhood or what I've been hearing. I mean, it's like anyone you talk to, it's like, yep, my dog has separation anxiety or my dog's dealing with X, Y, and Z. And
Okay.
it seems like it's a big issue. And this could be such a model that can really help with that too.
Yep, getting that consistency in there is really important. And I think from the business perspective, then we have to find a way to make it valuable enough for somebody to pay for.
Mhm.
And when we talk about competition, crowded markets, we have to recognize that it's not just other, from a dog walker pet sitter perspective, it's not just other dog walker pet sitters there. There's the boarding options, there's the kenneling, there's the daycare, there's the in-home, there's the overnight care, there's the veterinary stuff. And communicating that to clients is hard, right? Of going, hey, I know that right now you are just looking for a boarding option because your dog has separation anxiety and you don't want the dog to be alone. So you don't think right now my services can help you. Make sure that you have a plan to tell that person how you can get their dog to being able to use your services so they can at least see it. And then you have to let the client judge whether that's something that they want to invest in or not. And I know trainers deal with this a lot, right? They get the calls from the clients and the client goes, I need you to fix my dog today. Right, right. And the trainer goes, well, let me tell you about my 3-month program, and click, right. And they don't hear from them again. It's a chronic problem of getting people to see that value and to be investing in that. But I think that comes from us being able to communicate that value, us to give them a plan. Because at the end of the day, that's what they want. The clients just want help. And this sounds really dramatic. I'm sorry. I just realized how dramatic this sounds. It's but this is it across the board. Clients just want help, whether they want your drop-ins, whether they want your walks, whether they want the cat visits, whether they want the poot scoop, whatever. We can tell them, hey, here's how I can solve that problem. And we do that on our social media posts, on the phone and texting, on our branded website, whatever that is. We are simply telling them, here, you came to me with a problem. Here's my proposition for solving that for you.
Mhm. And this is very front of mind for me right now. I actually just recorded the next podcast episode, but it was all about must-have blog posts on your website. And one of them was kind of, what can you do to kind of address hesitancies or things that are popping up in your business? And the first thing I thought of when you mentioned like the consistency and how that can compare to doing a boarding option, that sort of thing, and how that can work over time, I really recommend either addressing that through education in the form of a blog post that people can reference it when they reach out, but also doing client spotlights and transformations, because what people are looking for when it comes to your website is they want to see their dog or their cat in the stories that you're sharing. So if you're able to show how consistent dog walking services helped a dog with X, Y, and Z, they're able to now say, oh, like, I want that. And how do I get that? Oh, by working with them.
Yeah. And we see that all the time on marketing, and we don't think it'll ever work for me, right? Like watch the news, watch the commercials that come on, and what do you see? You see those testimonials of, I never thought I'd be the kind of person who hiked mountains, but after this program, I hike mountains. And you're like, oh, I want to hike mountains. That's amazing. Wow. Same thing with our clients, right? They're looking for that problem to be solved. And if we can present it into a way that's digestible and easy for them to take in, it's going to be an instant hit. And does it happen every time? No. Does it have to be consistent? Yeah. Right. That blog post that you talked about, Michaela, you're going to probably have to share that a couple times and not just one time, but maybe in a couple more months. Push it out there, send it in a client newsletter, send it to your potential client newsletter. I, um, I know you just had Tori Mystic on not too long ago, and I know she was talking about that bifurcation of your email marketing. And I love that of going, I need to make sure that I'm talking to the right people. And my message to my clients is not the same as my messaging to my potential clients. We really have to remember that of who we're trying to talk to each time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the yeah, it's all good. I'm like, I always have to find a way to bring marketing into it because I feel like that can really be helpful when it comes to things like this and responding to trends and how can we adapt our businesses. But before we wrap up, I'd love to know, do you have any final pieces of advice that you'd love to give our listeners on
Oh,
this topic?
okay. This is the 30-minute closer, right? That's what you said when we
Yes.
started. Is that okay?
Yes.
I mean, this is hard. This is really difficult because I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, charge your worth," or they may say, learn to say no. I think, kind of given what we've talked about today, especially when we think about trends and looking towards the future, I think really consistency, right? Consistency wins over time. I think looking for quick hits, I think looking for being frantic and frenetic as a business owner is really unappealing to people and is really rocking the boat. And it doesn't help you see the results of what you're trying to do. And so when we have to think, I mean, you asked what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. If we don't have a 10-year mindset, it kind of makes everything that we're talking about kind of moot at that point. And that is really hard whenever we are struggling day to day, when it is really hard when we just lost another client or when our employee just left or when I'm struggling to get traction. But think of that 10 years. Think of where you're trying to get to and be consistent over with that. Whether that's the growth, whether that's in your branding. I think a lot of us just need to focus on our consistent service, our excellent service. So often, Megan and I will sit there and we can spiral and be like, oh my gosh, did you see this? And did you see this? And did you see this? And at the end of that, go, okay, but does that change the high quality of dog walks that we're going to offer tomorrow? No? Okay. Okay. We're always going to do that. And I think that something as simple as that is really powerful when we think of the impact that we're trying to make, sure, in growing our business, meeting our needs, but also more importantly, in serving our community and continuing something that we firmly believe is beneficial, and helping people.
That's really well said. Before we wrap up and learn where we can learn more about you guys, I'd love to know, and I end every episode this way, what is one mindful practice or any sort of tip that you do to help reduce burnout, stress in your business or personal life?
Yeah, this is something that I've been trying to come up with a term for this, and I've decided on it. It's called a boxed schedule. Okay, so think of a boxed lunch. This is when you're hungry, there's just a table over there with pre-made options for you to come and select from to eat. Something that I've been implementing more, this past 6 months up to maybe 8, is what I call a box schedule. These are the days where nothing is going right, where everything is kind of falling apart. Maybe the internet doesn't really want to work that day, and I'm really struggling to connect with what I have to do. I have two different schedules of basically things that I always need to do, regardless of what's going on. Then I can pull those off the shelf and just start chunking away at those. And it's a really great way that I have found to kind of push off the chaos instead of going into a black abyss on the couch and kind of disappearing for 3 days. Still working on stuff, but also knowing that, I'm not having to struggle to come up with something new. Having it already kind of right over here on a piece of paper of basically on the top of it, it says, when the day sucks, there's one, two, three, four, 5 things to do. And sometimes, and number one, right, is breathe. Number two is comb through client profiles, because that's a never ending job, right? And that's kind of a mindless thing that we can do. And there's other things on there as well, but those are kind of some self-care intermixed with that, also with just business things that we always, it doesn't matter how much we work on them, there's always more. So having kind of this eject button of what I'm working on is not working. I can't move forward with this. Let me just hit eject, and I'm going to go over here to the schedule, these lists of things that are just sitting over here waiting for me. And if I get to them today, that's great. If I don't, the world isn't going to burn down. But it's just kind of a great way to say, I don't have to think about it, but I can push off my frustration for a little bit and refocus on this over here. Plus, with the things like breathe and touch grass and read that book that you haven't been reading in a while, it's a great way to recharge.
Yeah. And if you do have more mindless business tasks on there, at least you're still allowing yourself to be productive if you really want to be productive, but in an easier way that maybe you can do that while watching TV, or you can do it outside, or like something a little more chill.
Right, because I struggle with being frustrated with tasks and getting overloaded with things, and then I say to myself, I really need to go take a break. But have I planned on what to do during my break? No, Michaela, I have not. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so being able to look over here at a Post-it note and go, haha, hey, 5 things I can do on a break. That's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think a good reminder for entrepreneurs, because we're probably all somewhat similar in that capacity of when that happens. How do you even actually relax or take a break?
Yeah. Just have them written down over here on your desk, put them on your phone. If you're really struggling with this, make them as your wallpaper on your phone. That's just my little tip for the day, or lock screen, so that when those busy days come and you can't do one more quote unquote adult or business thing, just hit the eject button and go to that first one of your box schedule for relaxing. And it's a great reminder. So
yeah,
something that I've been working on. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, this was a great conversation. I would love, before I let you go, to learn where people can find you, your podcast. I know you have your playlist. Like, I'd love to hear it all.
Yeah, so we are Pet Sitter Confessional. You can see our website, petsitterconfessional.com. We are all over social media as Pet Sitter Confessional. We've got a Facebook group called Sitter Confessionals for other pet professionals who are looking to share and engage there. As you mentioned, Michaela, our starter list, we have a lot of episodes, and some can be a little daunting. Even I forget what we've done sometimes. So Google search is amazing, but we have put together what we call our starter packs. These are some of our most popular episodes, grouped by common topics that people ask us for. I found myself, copying and pasting the same list of episodes to people when they'd say, hey, do you have anything on hiring, or do you have anything on pricing, or do you have anything on self-care, or do you have anything on, changing services? So we just took all those lists and we put it into different, what we call starter packs. It's at petsitterconfessional.com/starter packs. So you can see all the episodes there. It's a great way to just start dipping your toe in and seeing kind of the things that we talk about.
Perfect. And we'll have all of those links also in the show notes and in the episode blog post, so everybody can access that. But thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation, and it was fun to be flipping the script a little bit on the other side, right? Like, now you get to be interviewed instead of interviewing other people.
Yeah, I hopefully I didn't come across as too nervous, Michaela. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, be part of everything that you're doing. It's always fun to see. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for listening to the Pet Marketing Unleashed podcast all the way to the end. You're the best. If you loved what you heard, please share the podcast with your pet biz friends. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and leave us a 5-star review. We love to hear what you think of the show, and we are so grateful for all the support and love you show by sharing the podcast with others. And don't forget to stop by our website, petmarketingunleashed.com, where you'll find a ton of resources, recommended tools, blogs, templates, courses, and more to help you grow a stress-free and fulfilling pet business. Here's to saving time, ditching the stress, and standing out from the pack. Thanks again so much for listening, and I will be back soon with a new episode. Bye for now.